we go. Rion Skillz. Well, we just came in from the water. Couldn't go on the lake today. It was 7, 8 foot waves that would kill my boat. We went down to a little side lake, anchored for a little bit, just talked. Did you have fun? What do you think?
I did very much so. Learned a lot.
Yeah?
Yeah, as far as a no wake area or no wake zone, I should say.
Had to show them what a wake was. All good.
Learned as far as like where a break wall was. I really did just realized what it was, and then was scared because of the waves that were consistently hitting said break wall.
Oh yeah.
Got to see Lake Michigan from the other side. It's nice. It's a very nice view. Very nice.
It would have been cool to go out there and anchor, but like I said, 7, 8 foot waves.
I saw enough.
We'll be swimming.
Yeah.
So, well, man, let's start at the beginning, dude. I mean, you've been around for. When did you start?
August 12th, 2003.
You know the exact date, huh?
That was my first training day. September
Okay.
29, 2003 was my first match against Al Ucard or Paulie Botafido.
Okay. Who trained you?
That would be Mitch Blake for a couple weeks, and then he kind of passed me along to Amy Smith Duff as far as like getting the basics and everything out of the way.
Okay.
And from there, I know it's going to sound weird, but I had the privilege of just working with a bunch of Windy City guys, like Chi-Town T and T.O. Money. Just being able to work with them, even Milo Cass, just a bunch of those older guys. And they were very big on just take the hit. It won't kill you, just take the hit. You'll be fine. just take the hit.
Different time back then, wasn't it?
Yeah. Even Atlas J. Horn, I remember that. First time I got in there with him, he gave my first choke slam, and I didn't know how to take one. And he kind of guided me through it, and then he gave me another one. And at the time, I was like, this is stupid, but I was also so happy to do it because I had gotten over this thing, because I was nervous as far as, like, did you see choke slams? You don't really think about it until someone puts you in the air, and it's just one of those things you just got to trust and hope for the best.
Yeah.
But yeah, back then I was ecstatic to get hit because I love watching wrestling. Like, and I noticed it's going to be taboo based on how people view him, but my favorite wrestler, like overall, is Chris Benoit.
Same. I love him to death, man.
Like, just flat out. Like, and the one thing, he had one gear, and it didn't matter if he was hitting someone, it didn't matter if he was bumping, it didn't matter if he was hitting the ropes. Like, even when he was selling, it was just, he had one gear, and I was just go. And a lot of the stuff that I was doing when I started training, I looked at, as far as how to handle stuff. Because at least back then, that was my mentality. Like, you'll get tired of getting hit before I will. Because I was really enjoying the contact of everything. Whereas now, it's less about the contact and more about the showmanship, which I get and I respect. But that means that someone like myself is becoming obsolete in the physical department, as opposed to the mental, where I can, like, for the most part, handle myself with anyone.
Looks like a dying breed.
Yeah, I hope that's not the case. I
Same.
really hope that's not the case, because I feel like, especially now, there's more injuries now than there ever was when I was like training. Like, the only injury that I've gotten from a wrestling standpoint that was like very major earlier on was I bruised a kidney. But that's because I took a Shining Wizard wrong, and I landed on my hip and it just. But once that happened, I never like did that variation again. I continuously was able to figure out, okay, clean bump on this side, high and tight on. There's so many people that have lost the idea of a high and tight bump on their shoulders as opposed to trying to do things on their neck.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, how are you guys, like, how?
Right.
Like, I can't even, like, how? Like, I'll use Angus as an example. One of the first things he taught me was how to take a Superman bump in preparation for a German.
Okay.
And for those of you that don't know what Superman bump is, you pretty much jump straight up in the air, kick out, and land flat. It varies as far as ultimately just athleticism, weight, however, it just does. But ultimately, you have to jump straight up in the air and prepare to go backwards. When I learned how to do that, I was like, okay, that's actually pretty cool. It's pretty fun. And then I took a crossbody to where I had to do said bump, but not have the opportunity to go down. I had to hold the person there in front of me. And I was like, okay, that's nice. Okay, cool. Now you got to take this German. Excuse me? And I just remember every time he was like, okay, are you ready to do the German? I'm like, I don't know. And keep in mind, I love Benoit. So I know that this is not like, and this was around the time that when I started where Benoit was coming into his own in WWF or WWE shortly thereafter. Like, he was starting to, like, before Lesnar was the Suplex City guy and Angle, it was just that man just Germaning everyone.
And he was textbook every time, dude.
Yes,
Yeah.
like, because his neck was so strong. Like, you could just see him. He's just going. And I just remember I was like, no. Because one thing I knew about Angus, he was not built like Chris Benoit. I'm like, I have to land on something. Lo and behold, he showed me different variations of it to where you don't have to go high up on the chest. You can go onto the waist and you just adjust yourself to where you can get to your chest. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even know that was possible. Just like, there's so many variations of how to do things. And I feel like now people are just, the reason I bring the German aspect up is like, knowing that there's different variations as far as how to take said move. Now my guys, they see a Brock Lesnar and they just toss him. They just do it.
Some of that looks dangerous too, man.
Not realizing that Lesnar, when he's doing certain things, is actually really tight in the way that he handles stuff because he's so strong that sometimes you forget how strong he is. He is one of one. He really, like, I don't know if there ever will be someone like Lesnar, like that size, that agile, that fast, that strong. Imagine if he didn't get sick.
Yeah.
Imagine if he didn't have that kidney issue. Like, that is scary. Like, he's this good, and he got sick. He almost lost his life, and he came back, and he's a different version of himself than he was prior. I'm sorry for rambling on. I'm just like, I bring all this up simply because of the idea of guys just see things now and just want to do it because they think it's cool, as opposed to actually learning why things are happening in the first place.
Yeah, the whole storytelling.
Yes.
Is, so, what was your first company that you worked for?
IUWA.
IUWA. And that was that Chi-Town?
Yes. Independent Urban Wrestling Alliance. Chi-Town T, TL Money, Milo Cash. I started when like guys like Tristan Hayes and Willie had left, but that I want to say that first year Willie had came back because my first big show, they had I'm not sure if you remember this guy, Akeem Ali. Mm-hmm. Okay, he was my first feud.
Nice.
He was my first feud, and he was the first one to give me a German because he talked to Angus, and I was not ready, and he tossed me, and it was a clean bump. Boy, I was like, oh, I just laid there. I never went that tight on my shoulders, but he was my He was my first feud.
Mm-hmm.
When I found out what he was in real life, I was like, "Get the fuck, really?" Because at the time he was a congressman. Blew me away. This guy with all this African face paint and everything else, congressman in Gary, of all places.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Learn something new every day.
Messed me up when I found. I was like, "Get the fuck, really?" Because he would always show up in suits. Come to find out, he was like leaving the office.
It was a wrestling practice.
Yeah, I'm like, no wonder he's so tired. No wonder he's sleeping in other. He needs a place to rest.
Yeah.
He's always doing stuff. But yeah, that was my first place. Wrestling and training was IUWA.
So it wasn't too long after that you went to PCW, right?
Yes.
How did that come?
So I was year 3 technically. And at the time, IUWA had changed over to UWA, where it was Universal Wrestling Alliance, and there were guys that were wanting to leave because they just the head honchos weren't getting along, and I didn't understand the political aspect of stuff. I just didn't, because my whole thing was, why are we arguing about all this other stuff? But then I learned very early on that, okay, politics is stupid. Like very, very early on. And my whole thing is I just wanted to be better. And at the time, IUWA, the school that they were in, they were still in transition. They had lost the school that they were in. And it was going to be like another 6 months before they had another one. So I was like, well, I'm going to keep training. And when I went to PCW, it was because it was closer to where I lived, and they had a facility. That was it. I never had any intention to wrestle at PCW, not one.
Wow.
I just wanted somewhere to train, and I told them that. I was like, "Is it okay to train?" So, do you wrestle somewhere else? Like, yeah, but they don't have a gym at the moment, and they were fine with it. They were 100% fine with me coming in and training there.
And who was running PCW at the time?
Rick Knight.
Okay.
Rick Knight. Wally Wild and like P.L. Myers and some of the other guys that were there, like Rick Rocket. But at the time, they were 100% fine with me just being a student, and I was just learning how things were working. And one day they had an opening, and I was like, "Yeah, that's fine. I'm not doing anything." And IUWA was upset. Like, well, you guys aren't even, at the time, they weren't running the show. I'm like, well, they asked me, like, why wouldn't I be able to take it?
Yeah.
And then it just went from there. I was actually, the first year, I wasn't supposed to make it through. And that's still a funny story to this day. They, Rick Knight, because they always would do evaluations. And at the time, it was myself and Akuma Okoye, that's his name now, or Deli. And
City.
Yeah. At the time, it was the two of us, and he was supposed to be the guy. They looked at him, and they saw the muscles, and they saw everything. And it was like, he's going to be our next heavyweight champion. You know, they see me, it's like he's not going to last like the end of the year. Like Dream Knight will come by, we'll probably get rid of him after that. That's the least we could do because he's being around for practice. And a couple years later, he shows me an evaluation of this. As I'm getting ready to win my first tournament. And I'll never forget this, because Rick Knight showed me the evaluation as far as what he saw on me then. And then he showed me the evaluation as I was getting ready to win this tournament.
And how was it?
And he
Was
was
that
like,
the opposite, or was he on track?
Complete opposite of what I changed his idea of what he thought I was. Because by this time, Akuma Okoye had moved over to the Vanguard.
Mm-hmm.
And I changed his entire perspective as far as what he thought I was. And I was like, that's good enough for me. Like, knowing that you were going to fire me to where this is a guy we need to book around, I was like, that's good enough for me. Yeah. That is good enough for me. So, yeah, I was really proud. I'm still proud of that to this day. And that happened years ago. Yeah.
So, where's Vanguard play into all this?
So during my, I want to say 2008, 2009,
That's about when they started, I believe, 2008-ish.
I was going to shows, just in general. I was just going to shows when you, what was it, in Lansing.
There's no parking.
Yes.
Real small fucking
Yes,
building.
I was going to, because I was like, oh, it's not that far away. It's like 30, 15 minutes from where I'm at, so I can just go ahead and check it out. And I just remember seeing a lot of the guys that I used to work with over in RUWA just being around. And I was also at the time working not just PCW, but LOW for Legal Wrestlers with Gordon Dennis. And one of the guys he brung in to wrestle me was Isaiah, for Isaiah Velasquez.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anything about him. I didn't know anything about Lamar Titan, but they showed up at the show, and I was able to work with Isaiah. We had like a 10-minute match, and he enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, and I don't know who he is. I don't know that he's Windy City. I don't know that Lamar is Windy City.
Yeah.
So when I started showing up at Vanguard, I was like, oh, that's the dude we wrestled. And I'm not even picking up on the idea that this is like a Windy City heavy group.
Mm-hmm.
And then next thing you know, I was sitting with him, and he was like, how do you feel about coming in here for a little bit? And I was like, yeah, it's cool. I would love to. But I'm also working at PCW as well. Okay, we'll try and work around that accordingly. And for the most part, they did.
I don't think Vanguard had any rules like that, because most of us came from Windy City where you couldn't work anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So once Frankie opened up Vanguard, I think those rules were like relaxed or thrown out the window.
They're very relaxed. The only problem was that there were a couple shows where I was wrestling at like Vanguard and PCW were running at the same time.
Mm-hmm. That always sucks, yeah.
And I was trying to do both, and unfortunately, I was like, I would either miss one or the other. I was able to like come back for later stuff, but at the time, it just so happened that when I started doing more at Vanguard, I started to get more of a push at PCW, and it was just really weird how that coincided with me going over to Vanguard to work out. So
they don't want to lose you.
And I get it, but at the same time, it was fine before, because I just wrestled at the beginning of the show, make it, come over there, do the thing. Because I was there for Manifest Destiny 2, 3, and 4.
You were there when I got set on fire.
Yep,
yeah.
I was there when the whole fire incident, and I was there for your leg.
When I broke it the first time.
Yeah, I was there for that too. That sucked. Oh my god, that sucked. What?
Well, quick little story. So it was me and Isaiah. He had the title. It was supposed to be career versus title.
Yes.
I was supposed to go over
the old belt, the old
one.
Yeah.
Which I have right now. They gave me.
Really?
Yeah. In my apartment. But did this spot where I was on the top turnbuckle, a spot I've done hundreds of times, man. Just jump off to the outside. Isaiah was moved, hit the table, landed wrong, broke my ankle. I knew right away it was broke. I roll in the ring. I tell the ref, let's take it home. Tell him to go over.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, because I could not physically stand.
Right.
So Isaiah is freaking out. I'm like, fuck it, who cares, you know? He ended up hitting me with like a kick or something, whatever. So yeah, my career obviously didn't end there, but yeah. So a little story about Isaiah's and that night. So
that is so ridiculous. So I remember watching it, and I was like, something's wrong. I didn't know what was wrong exactly, but I was like, something is definitely wrong. Because I wrestled the Battle Royal at the beginning of that show, so I was able to actually like watch the show. And I remember watching it, and I was like, I don't know what happened, but something is definitely wrong. And we were in, was it Linwood?
yeah, at that sports complex.
Because before they started like separating a bunch of stuff, so it was just like an open space and then locker rooms. And I remember when that happened, I didn't see you the rest of the day. I was like, I don't know what, like they ushered him somewhere. Yeah. I don't know where he went, but he is definitely not here anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, one of those freak things. I mean, That was the last time I did that move, though.
Yeah, no,
Even though I've done it hundreds of times before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's where I changed up everything. No more high flying, no more jumping off anything. Stupid. and on paper, that should have been a really good match. Me and Isaiah's. He's a talent.
It was a great build.
Yeah.
It was a great build for what you guys were trying to do. It was a great build.
Yeah, we had the whole story built up, and then it just natural selection happened, and it's just,
just happenstance.
Wasn't meant to be, but. So anyway, enough about me. This is about you. So you're at Vanguard.
Yes.
Were you there till the end?
No, I was there for Manifest 2, 3, and 4. For 2, I teamed up with Tio Money to wrestle Victoria's Secret.
Love them guys, dude.
I missed them as a team.
They were awesome as a team. Yeah. Loved them. They were little dudes, but they were called Victoria's Secret. So they had the whole Victoria's Secret, kind of pushing the gay envelope. But it was awesome.
It was a great gimmick. It was a great gimmick in the way that they handled it.
Loved it.
And I was there for that because we were in a feud where we put them over. I was so happy to put them over because they were just getting started.
Good kids,
they were just getting started. I was so happy to be able to work with them.
Yeah.
The Manifest Destiny 3, they put me with the Army of Anarchy, whereas myself, Damien Dunn, and Virgil.
Okay.
And we teamed with, I believe, what was it? Because it was like the kingdom, like the township thing. I think it's Johnny Cash.
Okay.
I think am I right?
Yep,
okay, all right.
You used to wear the crown?
Yes. Okay, so it was us and J.D. Hughes or Jay Washington or Trauma or how it was against the Touchers, the Soul Touchers.
Okay. He shakes his head.
I just remember that match being very fun for the parts that I was in it. Because this was like my first time being able to like work with Marche, like in a spot head up, like directly.
And that was a different Marche than what you see today.
Yeah. And
totally different.
But we've been at the time we've been wanting to work.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember like they were talking about stuff with the match, and then when it came to our stuff, we had already talked it out. So when they were like timing things out, and we were like, okay, do this, here we go, up here, go, fine. And then we stepped back, and they were like, what was that? It's like, that was our spot. We got it, we're good. You keep going.
Yeah.
And I just remember Jazz, who at the time wasn't sure about me because I'm still an outsider in that aspect. Because for anybody, ask a Jazz, probably the most underrated guy in the area that has not been signed.
Absolutely.
Like, cannot talk enough about that dude. I just remember him saying, okay, I'm going to hit you with a hot chocolate. I'm thinking hot chocolate is a bump. I'm like, boy. How do I take it? Oh, you'll know. I'm like, okay.
You'll know.
I'm like, okay, that's fine. Because I'm thinking, because a lot of times when guys say something like that, I'm just expecting just a utility bump. Just a basic, you'll put me in a position, I'll just know where to go and be done with it.
Well, real quick, that reminds me of Boz. He'll shoot you off. Watch for the Bosinator. What the fuck? If you're running, what the hell did he just say? What the hell is this? Yeah.
I've heard that from fucking watching that in Dream Night. He did that to Jay Phoenix. And I just remember Jay, because he went for it the first time, and he looked at him, he was like, because he didn't bump, because he didn't know what was coming. Exactly. So he just took it and was like, in the middle of Oak Lawn, just sitting there. It was like 700 fans just sitting there, just like, yo. And they just did it again. They just went picking him up and did it again. He's like, oh, now I know I can take this move. But I remember dealing with Jazz, because he was sitting and he was telling me about the hot chocolate. He was like, just remember, hot chocolate coming up at the end. And because I know I'm not supposed to take the finish, but I'm supposed to take a move. I'm expecting a move to come out of this thing. So when he said, I'm going to turn you around and hit you with hot chocolate. So I'm thinking maybe it's a stunner. Maybe it's something like really quick. He turns me around. and I yell out, "Ah! It's hot chocolate! It's actually hot chocolate!" Because he does the powder and he spits it out. I didn't know this. Because every match that I watched him in, he didn't do that. Because the version that I saw of him was elite, where he wasn't doing the mist stuff. Mm-hmm. He was doing the pit bull stuff. So I'm expecting him to like hit me with something quick. I didn't know that this man was out here just spitting hot chocolate in people's faces. Like, what the fuck? So I had to sit there, and I'm sweaty. So now it's all caked up, and I can't see. And I know there's another move coming, but I can't see anything. So now I have to wait. I'm feeling on Jay Washington. I'm like, where am I supposed to be? And he just turns me around, and then I think I get hit with a 3D. I think. Whatever it was, I just know I got caught. I was like, I'm in the air, fine, I'm gone. I can wipe the stuff out. I just remember sitting there like, this is actual hot chocolate. What in the hell? What is happening right now? And just went back to the back. And you can confirm this with Jazz. And I think this is when he like gained respect for me, because I went to him directly. I was like, the fuck was that? You could have told me it was goddamn hot chocolate. And he just giggling. He was like, I know I could have. I said, you could have told me. I was like, why did no one tell me? I was like, shame on all of you. All of you knew. All you Windy City guys knew that this was happening. Every single one of you watched me go out there with zero knowledge.
Yeah,
zero knowledge. Yeah.
So after that, man, I hadn't seen you for a while, and then NXW came around.
Yeah, because I was doing stuff with Crash Tested, but they were still doing stuff in the church. They hadn't gotten as big as they did. They were on the upstart. Because at the time PCW had shut down, and the students that were at PCW went over to Crash Tested. And I remember my buddy Titan wanted me to come and do a job with him.
Talking about Titan?
Yeah,
big
7
boy.
foot. Yeah.
He's wear the Andre Giant singlet.
Yeah, he was like, they have an opening. Would you like to work? And he doesn't tell me who I'm working. I was like, yeah, it's fine. I'm not doing anything. I'm supposed to work with Stonewall that day.
Okay.
Like, wrestle him.
Uh-huh.
And I forget what happened exactly, but we ended up being in a team. But I just remember Stonewall talking to me. He's like, I'm going to give you all this stuff, brother. I'm going to give you this. I was like, oh, okay. And in my head, I'm like, I'm not going to do this. I just remember, I was like, I'm not, like, because I think at one point he was like, I'm going to give you a splash, then I'm going to give you a sidewalk slam, and then I'm going to give you a splash from the second rope, and then I'm going to pick you back up, do your suplex, and then I'm going to do a splash from the top rope. And I was just sitting there, all right. I remember going to Titan, I'm like, I'm about to fuck this dude up. He wanted to do all this stuff, and it's just, and I'm just talking to him. I was like, I don't want to come in here and fuck this guy up, because I know this is like one of their guys. But he trying to do a lot, and I would be fine with it. Like, if it was you telling me all these things, I'm like, okay. But it didn't even look like he was able at the time to do all these things.
Well, plus you don't know him. I mean, he's not proven. You don't want to get hurt.
I was like, what in the hell? Like, and I'm literally, and I just remember sitting there on my phone, like, there's got to be a video or something. There has to be something. There has to be something. And I just remember seeing him cut this promo. This is the only video that I found of him pissing on a block, saying, you're going to be another brick on my wall. I forget who he was talking to. But I just remember him having a cinder block, throwing it on the ground, and pissing on it. And I was just like, what the? This so he about to do all what? What? Then we end up in a tag match. Next thing you know, the guys over at NXW like, that's the best Stonewall's ever looked. And I'm like, I took all the heat.
Made him look good.
I was like, what? And they're like, would you like to be in a tag with him? I was like, I don't, like, not really, but I mean, I'll do whatever his ass. But what came out of my mouth was, that's fine. Whatever. And then for about a year or two, you're just like, we're getting tag belts. And I'm like, no, the family has the tag belts. How about we leave them dudes alone? Because I know where this is going to go, and I'd much rather not deal with that.
Well, and you know what I'm going to talk about next.
I know what you're going to talk about. I just segued into it.
Let's do a little setup. So it was me and Walsh against him and Stonewall. We were out at some RV park, fairgrounds, and there was 13 people in the audience. Outside show, black canvas, so hot. This is really one of my favorite matches because we had so much fun during the match.
Of course you did. You had.
We kept him in there to take all the heat. But go ahead. I digress. I'll let you tell the story from your point of view. My point of view is how we beat his ass, had fun. So.
Okay, look. It's 13 people in the crowd. One of them is Braun Lumberjack, who was sitting by a tree, ironically, just minding his own business.
The only tree out there.
Literally the only tree. He found it and was like, this is where I'm going to sit. So, sitting there minding my own business, knowing that this match is going to be a debacle, because I already know that they don't want to work with Stonewall. I know they don't. So I'm just dealing. I'm just like, okay, hopefully it's not that bad. They was like, yeah. We're going to work with him. Look, he knows. I'm just like, how about you work with Stone? No. It's you today. And then this is coming from his mouth. And I'm like, oh, Walsh, help me out. Don't you want to, you don't want to, like, start off with me and then Stonewall? But he's like, oh, no. It's you today. Walsh doesn't speak. So when he takes the time to just say, "No, it's you," I'm like, this is bullshit, and I had to deal with this ass whooping on this black tarp of a canvas. It's just hot, just dealing with all. Look, he's trying not because the ass whooping that I took. They had so much fun. They were so happy. They were just. You would have thought it was 1,300 people that was out there, the ass whooping they gave me. And they didn't have to do that. It was only 13 people, one of them being Braun. They didn't have to do it, and they chose to do it.
But on the other hand, though, we didn't call anything before the match. We just didn't finish. We went out there and we had fun. And it was fun. Go out there just calling everything on the fly, yeah.
You know what? I'll do it. So previously, I had to explain this story to someone else. So there's a bunch of stuff that I'm not going to say, but I just want to make sure that you understand. They had way too much fun. They had way too much fun beating my ass on there. It wasn't heat. It was an ass whooping. At one point, this man hit me, and I had to fight him off. Just get the fuck up off of me. This is too much. And I hear him giggling. I fucking hear him giggling in the middle. I'm like, what the fuck are you laughing for? What are you doing? I tried to do a body slam spot with Walsh, where I had to like pick him up and then fall backwards. And I couldn't because Stonewall said something to him. I can't see what's being said, but Walsh sat there. He stopped. And I was like, yo, what are you doing? And he hit me. Bow. And I just dropped to the ground. He picked me up. I'm sorry, brother. And he picked me up and slammed me. And I didn't know what happened. I don't know what took place, but I knew that Stonewall had something to do with it. I was like, this motherfucker. Meanwhile, Braun is like, ha!
Braun was having as much fun as we were.
I was like, this is stupid. This is fucking stupid. And then when the match was over, I had to just go to a fucking tent and act like I didn't just get my ass whooped in the middle of a fucking fairground with these two guys just enjoying their fucking life. Just enjoying themselves.
It was fun.
It was, yes, it was
out of
fun.
love, though. Seriously.
I know what it was. Like it was. I'm
malicious.
I'm complaining about it, but I wouldn't have had it any other way. Because that match would have been horrible if the roles were reversed.
Yeah.
I understood what it was, and it was fine, but they were enjoying it too much. Like I was telling people earlier that at one point, while I'm getting hit with forearms, I thought they were feet. And I wanted to find out that they were fucking forearms to the back. I said, what the fuck is going on? What is happening? Like, flashbacks. I had flashbacks to this. Oh, awesome.
Okay. All right. So after NXW, you haven't really been wrestling lately, have
No,
you? I mean,
I have, but just like,
well, you branched off. I mean, you went into, you and Max Holiday started doing the morning after.
Yeah.
Now, was that after you kind of stopped wrestling, or was
so what I did was I was still wrestling, but I was wrestling at this place called CWA, Chicago Wrestling Alliance, based out in Dalton. What would be considered a backyard spot because of where it is and the guys that were there. But it was like once I got there, some of the more established guys were just casually coming in. What I ended up doing, and this is what was happening with me, was that at a certain point, I started to hate wrestling.
we've all been there.
And I just wanted to have fun because it wasn't even the idea of the wrestling part. At the time, I was working at Crash Tested. I was getting my first push as their Tri-State champion because I was the first Tri-State champion. But I also knew like what was going to happen down the pipe, and I wasn't enjoying myself. It was like every show I was always like there later than most. I was there the day after, like doing like I was just, for me, for it not to be like my own company, I'm doing an awful lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to go somewhere that had fun where I didn't have to worry about BS. Enter CWA. And I just went there. And I didn't have to worry about politics or anything of the sort. They just told me, well, you can wrestle guys here. And I was like, well, just keep me away from these guys and I'll be fine. I just don't want to end up just beating the shit out of somebody because they don't know. Mm-hmm. I would rather me show them something. If they don't get it, they don't get it. But I don't want to assume that they know it and then beat them for the sake of it. Because I've watched that part of it too.
Right.
And that's what I was doing at the time. Was I was doing Crash Tested stuff and CWA while working with Max, because he came to me one day, and when we started doing the morning after, it was actually the last day at PCW. And he was like, "Well, you want to do a podcast with me?" And I didn't know what a podcast was at that time. I didn't know what it was.
That was early days of podcasts too,
yeah,
wasn't it?
Yeah. It was because he was doing a hot pod with Starks and Draven. Mm-hmm. And like I would like guest star on there from time to time.
I've been on there a couple times too as well.
He ultimately because we would call each other every time we would do a show, and we would always have conversations with each other. Like that's just what we do, and we would always joke like, what if people like heard the shit that we were saying? We'd always make that joke. Like people would not be ready for the shit that we just ended up saying. And then he called me one day. He was like, "Why don't we just do it one day? What's the worst that could happen?" Now I remember that first episode because it's very mellow. Because we were just on the phone and we were just talking, and I was like, we're being recorded, so I didn't know like how I was supposed to speak accordingly. But once I was able to like get in the studio with him, and we were able to just talk, it took on a life of its own.
You guys had a following. I mean, I
we shouldn't have, because we were just talking. We were just talking and just making up shit on the fly. Not the wrestling stories. All that shit was true, but there was just little stuff that would happen, like the hand of Andre, or the golden case, or just like something like, because it's all stuff that we like would interact with, and stuff that we think is funny. Is like, well, we'll just include that in here. We don't have to explain it. We'll just fucking, like, if I see something at a show, I'll just grab it, put it in the background. They see it, they don't, they don't. It's just little stuff that we would just do to amuse ourselves. Not so much everyone else, but just amuse ourselves. And it just worked. Because we weren't trying to put out a show. We were just talking. Just having a conversation. Yeah. And it just so happened that everyone else was looking at it.
Yeah.
And I missed like that type of stuff. It was fun.
I followed you guys.
which is amazing.
I loved watching. Well, you guys went on to what? Was it like Facebook Live? Where were you where I could see you guys? Was it Facebook Live?
Yes. We just do random live streams on Facebook. We got a chance to work with Bischoff, which I still think is ridiculous in itself. There's no way you could have told me that I've been able to talk with Eric Bischoff. Just pick his brain for an hour.
Yeah.
There's no way in hell you could have told me that would have even been on the table at that particular time. But it happened. It definitely happened. I'm forever grateful for that.
And that was right after the NWO run, wasn't it? So he was already built his name up even more than what it was.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun being able to just chat with him and go from there. But yeah, the morning after with Max and Rion, I really enjoyed like doing those shows, and he did too. But it got burned out, like, because we were even when we didn't have shows, we were talking about other stuff, and we were doing it every day or every weekend for roughly 5 years. Like, thinking about, like, it was like even if he, there were times that, and I remember this because at that particular time, because I was wrestling at CTW and CWA, and every now and then I would take other bookings in other spots. He had just started doing Bruce City, so he was traveling from Wisconsin. We would have to come back to Indiana, record in the studio. He would then have to go back out because of another show that he was doing. And like it was there was one time where we were in, I remember that I was in Chicago for what's now called Wrestle League. It's just for Wrestle. I remember I was doing that show and was trying to get back to wrestle for Crash Tested, and he was doing an outside festival, and we both had to be back the following day to record for the LRP network for their version of the morning after.
Oh man.
With like a production team and trying to get everything, like it was like they gave us a script and we were like, fuck that script. Not like, it was just the whole thing.
So real quick, walk me through that, because you guys were independent, and then you got picked up by the
LRP network.
Yeah,
Laughing Riot Productions.
So there you have someone in charge,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you just said, giving you a script. I mean, how?
We didn't.
How? I mean,
we didn't. What ended up happening was, so when we were, because they paid us to do 6 episodes the first time, and we were just casually like going through things, and what they would do is they would give us a script of the show, and they would want us to talk about it. But normally when we're just talking about stuff that happened with us, we can kind of rapid fire things accordingly. There were things that they wanted us to go through, and it was like, well, we can do this your way, but we don't have any context because we either weren't there or from a character standpoint, because it's still in continuity of things that are going on with their brand. Like, one of the things they did was they turned me heel in the middle of me doing this show deal with them. So now I have to try to keep the persona that they initially started me with, but they just turned me heel while giving me a script. I'm like, fuck that script. You have to, like, I understand what they're trying to do, but it's like it's too much that's happening to where if you want us to be us, just let us be us. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
Just let us talk. Like, we can figure out everything else. And they wanted us to interview people, and we were fine with that as well. But then they were doing commercial breaks, and there was like just a bunch of stuff that was happening on those versions of it, to where we had to then say, this is not an LRP sponsored episode.
Yeah.
Like, we had to decipher which ones were coming into it, and they had very different tones in the way that they would handle stuff. But it was always the same thing. We would have to travel from one place, get there the next day, talk about said day, and then Max would either have to go back out to go wrestle another show, or I would have to go back out and like do something with the ring. Because I was like in the middle of like moving stuff, I was doing ring rentals as well. Like it was a lot going on in that time frame.
And so I don't care about the dollar amount, but was it worth giving up your guys' show that you guys built? Was it worth it? I mean, because
funny thing was we didn't give it up. Like Mac, like we were very like smart about it. Like, yeah, we'll do these shows for you, but that's all we're going to do. Like he didn't give up the trademark. He didn't give up like the name or anything of the sort. It's just you signed for these things. That's what we're going to do, and that's what we did. We did it twice.
So I was saying, like, if someone came in, offered me money for this, what I'm doing, but you got to give up this and this, you got to talk about this or that.
And we were very clear as like, that's, no.
I mean, because you already have a winning formula with you two. It's already proven to be winning. Why change anything?
Because that's kind of how business works. It sucks, but that's just the nature of the beast. Like, I understood it accordingly, but it was just funny because we figured out a way to do what was asked, but in a way that everyone knew that that's not what they're asking us to do. Yeah. And it worked out. It worked out 100%. Like, whenever someone would, like, one of the things that I would do is, like, whenever they would ask for a commercial, I would, instead of me being very coy about it, you want a commercial? He wants a commercial. Okay, production over here wants a commercial. And they were just like, no, we're doing commercial right now. We're doing, like, we would just go back and just...
I bet they love that.
Oh, yeah. There was one day, I can flat out say, there was one day where the production manager at the time, they talk about it now because it's gone, so it's fine. So what happened was that, like, I don't smoke. I don't smoke or drink or anything of the sort. But I have always loved the culture. Like, I read up on that stuff all the time. And Max, whenever I would see him do stuff, I would just ask, like, how are you doing it? He said, well, you could try. I was like, no, just tell me how you're doing it, and then we can go from there. So one of the things, I think it wasn't a vape pen at the time. I think it was just a dab that he was doing. And I remember watching him doing it one day, and I was like, that looks easy to do. He was like, you want to do it? I was like, no, I don't want any of whatever the fuck is in there. I don't want any of it. And I remember the production guy, let me hit some of that. And I just remember the production guy started to do it. And because I was reading up on a bunch of stuff, I said, oh, that's bad. You can't, that's whatever the fuck you're doing, that's a bad move. I watched it. I was like, your soul is not going to be here. You hit too much of whatever the hell that was. No. You don't even know what it is. You, sir, going to be fucked for the rest of the day. And sure enough, we just watched production guy cook for 90 minutes. Sat there trying to figure out if he wanted to eat a glazed donut or not. And that was a fun day. I was like, I told you he was plastic. I told you he was. I don't know much, but I know what not to do. That is something he's not supposed to do. That shit was hilarious watching him just like... Oh, that was amazing to watch. You can actually go back and look on Max's page, The Bearded Bruiser. Like, you can go back and watch that. That shit was hilarious to watch. Because you can't see what's happening, but we definitely point him out. It was like, he's fucked. He is fucked. Like, there were so many commercial breaks. There were so many. We were laughing too much. It's like, yo, get it together. You're supposed to lead us. Get it together, please.
Did you guys end the show when you ended your partnership with them? I mean, was it at the end, or did you guys keep going?
What happened was we kept going, and we were it was right around the time I was like, it was starting to have burnout. And I know that, and this is, like, it's like I've talked about it. Well, actually, both of us talked about it briefly. But ultimately, what happened with the morning after in general, and I've like said this on the show when we started doing like one-offs, is we were both having issues from a personal standpoint, just in our own personal lives. Mm-hmm. It was starting to affect us professionally and personally. And neither one of us wanted to ask the other one for help. Even though we both knew that we were hurting at a certain point. Yeah. And if there's one thing that I've learned, especially now, is that sometimes you just got to ask someone for help. As a man, you have to just do it. But as and you should know more so than anything else, is that when you have a persona and you break that down with someone that you consider to be a friend, and you are vulnerable to them just from a comfortable standpoint. You don't ever want to be vulnerable from an uncomfortable standpoint in front of them, because they know you as this person. So what do you do when you're both dealing with something and you're both scared to talk to the person about it? Yeah. It creates friction. You don't know why the friction is happening, but you definitely know there's friction taking place. Mm-hmm. And then that's when people start to grow apart. And that's what happened. That is the best way that I can explain it without going into major details. Ego and pride got in the way for us both. And neither one of us wanted to acknowledge that there was stuff happening with both of us personally, to where we had to just like, hey, I need help. Let me talk to you.
And obviously you guys have already talked about this subject.
Oh yeah, but we didn't talk for a couple years. Yeah. Because the weird thing was that once things started happening, shortly thereafter, COVID happened. Like, pandemics, so no one was talking to anybody at that point. Yeah. But yeah, we've been able to talk since, and it didn't happen right away. But it was weird because it was a lot of because Max reached out to me first. He was like, "Hey, happy birthday." Oh, hey, thanks. Okay, and it just kind of just went from there. But for a while, we were not speaking at all. Yeah. Because, like I said, ego and pride. Yeah. You take those two things out of it, you can navigate through a lot of stuff. Yeah. That was something that it was very strong in the both of us.
Have you guys talked about bringing Morning After back? Has that been on the table?
No.
Hey.
No, we've talked. We've talked enough.
What if we do the Morning After on a boat? Huh?
We've talked enough to where, and I've said this, not just, I'll say it here, but I've said it on other shows, just like even with the Morning After when we would do one-offs, like for random Dutch baby talks or the Power Hour. I've said it and I'll say it here. It lives through Max and it dies through Max because it was his idea to begin with. Mm-hmm. Like, I can go and start doing stuff. Hell, I'm sitting here talking with you. Like, I can always go do things. But as far as the Morning After aspect of it, it lives through him and dies through him.
Well, you guys know people want it back.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one that's brought this up to you, I'm sure.
Yeah, and that's just it. It's not that we don't want to. It's just, y'all keep canceling everybody. I keep doing dumb stuff. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Y'all keep doing dumb stuff. So everybody got fucking podcasts now. All of you. This is the difference between on the boat. But there's some of y'all that keep saying stuff and keep saying the same thing, and then that person will turn around and go on another podcast and say the exact same thing, but badly. And it just keeps going back and forth in this weird cycle. And it's like, well, you got all the information out there. What the fuck you need us for?
Yeah.
Until you do. I've always made the joke with Max. that the Arkham is losing his fucking mind. Gotham needs you.
All right.
I would always make that joke, and he would just like, "No, they're not ready for us to do that." Like, yeah, we'll see. But I would always make that joke, like, Gotham needs you. You need to go back out into the world and handle stuff.
Yeah.
Because y'all doing a bunch of dumb stuff. Everybody, and I say everybody, is out here just saying stuff for the sake of saying stuff. There are very few that are actually like trying to do things different. Like, I love this. I fucking love this. If you have a chance to just get on a boat and just fucking just go down the marina and just look at Lake Michigan, do it. Do it for yourself. If you get a fucking chance, fucking just do it. It's one of the most calming, relaxing, and scariest things you could possibly see. Especially if you see waves hit you that's taller than you, and you have to just watch that shit happen. Mother Nature is a beach. It's a beach. I try to say beach and bitch at the same time, and it came out as beach.
Well, it is all different sights from being on this side of in the water than, you know, on a car or something. You know, driving down the lake, in the lake, looking at the beach instead of being on the beach looking at the.
I love it. Like just in the area that we're in, and I know we couldn't go further out because of the waves being too high. But I learned so much today, and I'm always like I'm always asking questions when it comes to stuff like that. But as far as circling back to the idea of like doing the morning after, lives through max, dies through max. We've already talked. It's just a matter of getting things in order for people to be like, oh, this is going to happen now. Because I guarantee that once we start rolling again, there's going to be a lot of people watching.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of nervous
Absolutely.
about that. I'm not even. I'm nervous about that. So we can't do the same thing. I mean, we could. We're not. We're not. Like I already know how it's going to play out. I think people will enjoy like some of the stuff that's potentially could happen.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Well, it's cool. I used to like, you know, recapping the shows from last night or whatever. You know, if Max was at like ARW, he'd recap, you know, what happened, what was.
And that's just it. We never recap. We just talked about what we saw.
Yeah, well,
That was the
what
thing.
I mean.
Like, if we happen to have results, it's like, oh yeah, this person won, but it was done in a way that we just talked.
Yeah.
Like, I've literally sat in front of people where they would just have like the entire show script in front of them, and they would have to like go through everything in said order because the promoter would say, okay, we need you to touch up on these things. And it's like, oh my God, why can't we just do the shit?
That's what I like about this, man. I just hit record and whatever said is said, you know. No editing, no script.
Yeah.
You know, I'll start with your beginnings and then we'll just talk. Wherever it goes, it goes.
I'm totally fine
You know?
with just answering questions.
Yeah. It's just me and you talking. I mean, we're old friends. I mean, that's.
He beat the shit out of me. Don't get it twisted. He beat the shit out of me. Oh, friends.
You're not the only one, so. So you keep bringing up Power Hour. What's your involvement with them?
So originally, it's funny because originally I think that Steve Arendt wanted me to come in as like Rion from The Morning After.
Uh-huh.
And I learned the first episode that I can't be that guy. Because whereas that is more organic in the way things are being portrayed, as far as we're just talking, as far as Max and I kind of have to wait. It's more like shock radio in the aspect of like a Howard Stern or something of the sort, like a Man Cow, to where there's a bunch of things happening, but ultimately there's one person directing everything, and he's trying to get a certain response for certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned very early on, because it was actually with Travis T. It was my first episode there, and I had zero knowledge of anything that was going on. I didn't know what a JFW was. I didn't know what was going on as far as like the SCW, POW war. Like I was just just walking in, and he gave me no context of anything. And I had to just figure that shit out on the fly.
Oh, no.
And at the time, prior to that, there was a couple months where I was just playing video games. I didn't give a fuck about wrestling. I'm like, it's fine. I'm not doing shit. I'll come over there and do that.
Yeah.
And then when they started talking about all this stuff, I was like, oh, God, now I have to fucking focus and figure it out. And once I figured that out, I was like, okay, I can't be like myself. I know that sounds bad, but I was like, I have to like be a different version for what they're trying to do. So then I like found little things to amuse myself to where I would randomly just throw things in. Because like for everything that was supposed to be serious, there would always be like this weird drinking game. Because Red apparently would say something like, here's the funny part. And then they would have to like do shots. I'm like, well, I don't drink. You know what? It's fine. Just there's liquid here. I'll figure it out. And I just kind of just embraced what was going on. Mm-hmm. Like the whole timeout thing. Like, I just thought about that one day because Ryan Matthews, was walking around with a bunch of these signs with his face on them. I'm like, that's fucking amazing. Yeah. That is an amazing thing because he has a great smile. So just seeing him like that is an amazing thing to have. So I bought 3 just because. I had no purpose of having them other than to have them. And then I was watching the Golden Girls one day, and they were doing an auction where they were just holding shit up. I was like, oh, I can make that a timeout. I was like, oh my God, I could just make that a timeout and just be fine with it. And that's how the timeout with Ryan Matthews happened. And then they would just start, like, adding other rules to it. But, like, once I started, like, doing little stuff, I'm like, well, they're good. They'll call me when they need to. Because I view it now as me doing a flip. And I've actually talked about that with Steve and other people. So have you ever seen, well, I'm not sure how you feel about like Marvel movies in general.
I love Marvel, so I'm
okay. So I'll try to dumb it down for them, but I'll explain to you so you understand. Like in a quick setup. Spider-Man Homecoming. Peter Parker is out there just saving everyone. And there's a guy. He's just kind of sitting there. He's been riding the bus and he keeps seeing Spider-Man. He's a fan. But he just wants him to do a flip. And I remember this scene vividly because he's just like, do a flip. And Peter's like, all this cool stuff I just did, and you just do a flip. And he does the flip. And he's like, yeah! Uh-huh. That is my role on the Power Hour. I do the flip when they ask me to do the flip. When they need me to say the thing, I say the thing, and then I move on from there. But then I got tired of doing the flip, so I went and found something else to do, and that was the photo aspect of it. And I still do the flip from time to time. Yeah. But now that you understand the idea of what the flip is, and they need me to say something, I say the thing, and then I move on. Because now they've added, because like C-Rated was always there, but they've added Rachel, a.k.a. Cactus Rack, a.k.a. Russian Blue. So they've already added a different dynamic. So my thing is, I try to pull myself back so they can do what they need to figure their own timing out. Because I can always find something else to do. And then come in, do the flip, go back, do what I need to do, and it's fine. But that is my role there. As I am the guy that does the flip when called upon.
I've always loved the Power Hour. I love C-Rad, known him for many years. Steve's awesome too.
Agreed.
Every time I wanted to do something, they would go live on location with me.
Okay.
You know, we did
I was actually, that's why I started popping my head out randomly.
Yeah.
For,
yeah, I got smokes.
Okay.
So they've been nothing but good to me. Mm-hmm. You know, nothing but good. I have nothing but praises to them. You know, love them.
There was I actually think the first interaction I had with the Power Hour, when it was just Red and Steve, when the family, I think they interviewed the family over in Worth. I think it's Worth or near Harlem Avenue, because Jake Andrews was around, or Jake Adams. He was around when that took place.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, it was a while ago because
Yeah.
I just so happened to come in. And I was at the back end of the bar and I didn't say anything. I was just there watching things happen. But I just remember that, like, you guys were just talking. It was an interview where you were able to talk with the family. I was like, okay, they got it. They're good. This is a good deal. So when he wanted to add me into it, I'm like, you don't need me. You really don't need me.
Everybody needs some Rion. Come on.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I enjoyed what I saw then, and it's good now. But I enjoyed what I saw then.
All right. Well, shit. So what else you got going on? What do you have going on right now in your life? You working for any
This
companies?
boat.
Other than the highlight of your month right here. I mean, what else you got?
I am informational liaison for a company, Ileana Pro Wrestling, based in Richmond Park.
And what the hell does that mean?
I deliver information to the fans and workers from a neutral standpoint. It's just as dry as it sounds.
Okay, I was gonna say, man.
So
Okay.
the reason why that's a thing is that because of the way that they structure things over at IPW, it is me giving you the very bland information that you need to know before the show moves forward. Because as long as you know these rules, whatever happens afterwards, you cannot then question. Because I've already explained the thing that you need to know. So when I bring a host out and you don't like him, I've already explained what the rules were. You cannot then get mad because of this thing I've already explained. So once they get control of the show, and it can literally be anyone, I do my best to keep it as fair and as neutral for the host.
Okay.
Because a lot of times, and this is something that happens very often with wrestling, that someone will get a general manager, and majority of the general managers have an agenda for their own, like, efforts, for something that they want done specifically. Whereas with the host, it is, yeah, they have an agenda, but with me being the liaison, I can filter it out to where it's neutral for everyone and it's fair for everyone.
Okay.
So yeah, you can go ahead and do these things, but there's another thing you have to do to where it's an equal exchange. There was the Workhorses were a host one show, and they requested that I became a workhorse for the day. And I was like, well, that's fine. And everyone hated the idea of me being not only a workhorse, but them being a host. And there was like previous hosts of previous shows. And it was like, no, they have the same power as everyone else. The same way that you were able to run around and do stuff, they should be able to do the same. You have to respect them accordingly. Now, they can't just destroy the show, but if there's certain things that they want to kind of tweak or change, you got to give them the same respect as everyone else that came through there. And to me, the thing that I like about the idea of them doing that with a liaison and a host is it's something that you don't really see. Because it dumbs down the idea of the general manager aspect to where if I explain something to you and you know what the rule is ahead of time, and the host comes and contradicts said rule, you already know they're on BS. So you know what, it makes it a lot easier. Like, hey, no, that's wrong. Rion said this thing was what, and now you come and change said thing. Like, it makes it a lot easier to know. Or if they double down and say, okay, Rion said this, we're going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it a lot easier for people to learn the personality of the host accordingly. Because with me being the information liaison, I'm just neutral and dry.
Yeah.
So once I step out of the way, whatever personality you have, that's it. It's on you at this point. All I can do is assist in whatever you project out into the world.
Gotcha.
So when you have hosts like the Workhorses, like Turtle Bremen and Travis T, like C-Red and Steve, like, it's their personalities coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they have no choice. Like, because the rules have already been set. What you do with said rules is completely up to the host.
I'm actually starting to become a fan of the Workhorses.
Yeah.
To tell you the truth, I mean, they got heat instantly. They're pretty hot over at ARW. I ran a chop class with them, two of the three in there. They took it like champs, man, and they learned, and I watched some of their stuff, and they're taking what I taught them
Mm-hmm.
and are using it. You know, they're still rough around the edges, obviously, but I'm becoming a fan of theirs.
I am very big on the idea of having organic heat as opposed to bad heat.
Yeah.
Because bad heat will mess up a match. It won't favor anyone. But if you can have someone organically hate you and you're not in the wrong for the things that you do,
Mm-hmm.
it's a beautiful thing. And
they have that.
They have that.
Yeah.
And my whole thing, and I said that from the first time I saw them, I was like, imagine if they learn how to truly work. Because their personas are unparalleled. Like just the way that they present themselves, just the way they handle themselves. Like just Mikey Peterson's face. You want to punch. Like, if there was ever a punching bag photo that you would want to have, you put his face right there. It's like that. He's gonna punch you. I don't know why, but you need to be punched in the face. And it just, they
got it.
Yeah, they do. They do. And once they figure out what they actually have, that
it'll be good.
Agreed.
Well, man, I'm looking at the time right now. We're up hour and 12.
Yeah.
We're gonna wrap it up. Let's get some food. Are you getting hungry?
Yeah, a little bit.
I think we're gonna order pizza.
All right, bro.
You like some pizza?
Yeah, I love pizza. Not as much as turtle, but you know, that's a lie. I can eat pizza every day. I can eat pizza. That's my favorite thing to eat. I'm gonna be honest with you.
You say that until you work. Like me, I work at a pizza place. I'm so sick of food.
My first job was Pizza Hut.
Yeah?
My first job was Pizza Hut. And I loved it. I fucking loved it. I tried everything I could. And I thought I would have got tired of it. And then no. I just would have got more. I didn't give a shit. Pizza's my favorite food. It covers everything. It covers all of the things. When someone had the part idea to make a fucking breakfast, I was like, what the fuck is going on? Who the fuck is out there making these decisions? You tell me I can put sausage and eggs on a fucking pizza? What the fuck? Who the fuck is out here? Corporate need to stop.
Anyway, well, brother, thank you for coming out, man. Much appreciated. Letting you guys know, I am in talks soon. We might have a new host sitting right here. You won't have to see my ugly mug no more. I'll be behind the camera. We're in talks. We're going to find out. Just throwing that out there. So, yeah, Rion Skillz, man. Cheers, guys.